Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Game Beyond Live. I'm your host, Gabe Mac, as always, and today we're going to be talking about some games and game theory and game design. But yeah, I want to jump into a recent post that I did and ask yourself this question. How many of you made New Year's resolutions this year? And of those resolutions, how many of them have you been able to fulfill? We just got over Lent. I figured now was as good a time as any to do a reflection for those of you who failed miserably at everything from Lent to New Year's resolutions. Why is it not working? How come I can't seem to do it? Why don't I have a backbone? No. We got you covered. We've got the solution. And the solution is in game design, right? Here's, if you haven't read the article, you can read it here. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you the 3 key points of why you're not able to keep those New Year's resolutions. All right? Now, let's go through a couple of classic resolutions or goals that people make. We want to lose weight, right? Earn more, spend less, maybe travel more, right? These are the typical New Year's resolutions that people make. And all of these are doomed to fail. Does that do? No. I thought that was the way to make the thing go on and off. Oh, maybe it did. But it also made it go out of full screen too. No, it didn't. It didn't work at all. All right. Sorry. It's a new little tool trip I'm trying out here. So anyways, what you need for a good goal is 3 factors. Number 1, you need a measurable outcome. Number 2, you need a set amount of time. And number 3, you need an artificial challenge. Yeah? Now, let's look at these 3 steps and defining a good goal. Step 1, defining a measurable outcome right here. Yeah? So, when we want to achieve a goal, we have to define something we can measure to know when we've achieved that goal. Right? If you just say lose weight, what is it? Is it lose 1 pound or is it 30 pounds? How much weight do you want to lose? So this is, number 1 step. Make it measurable. Make it something you can measure. So for instance, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to lose $1,000 more, or I want to save $1,000, or I want to visit 3 national parks. See how those goals have now shifted to something that we can measure. Now we have something that we can go to. Now we have something that we can formulate a plan on. And the second part we need is we need a set amount of time. Okay? How long do we have to achieve these goals? Do I have to lose 20 pounds over 20 years, or 20 weeks, or 20 days? Yeah? Without a deadline, there is no goal. It stays a dream. Yeah? So this is why we need a deadline. So then instead of, for instance, lose, 5 pounds or 20 pounds, now what we can do is we can plan a course of action. If I have to lose 20 pounds in, for instance, 5 months, well, now I know I need to lose 4 pounds a month, right? Makes it a lot more manageable. Now I can figure out a scheme and plan some kind of exercise regimen or diet that can help me achieve that goal. Now, this is something that is so crucial in setting a deadline to those projects, those dream projects you have. Yeah? I know it's one of those things you're kind of like, especially with like an art project as well. You're like, oh, I want to be able to take my time and make it perfect. But no, it's not going to work. You need a deadline of like some art exhibition that you got to get to. You need a deadline of events are great. It's like, birthdays are a good one. For instance, I got to do this before my birthday. That's a really great deadline to give yourself. Yeah. These 2 points are basically the key points that most people in business school and success strategy always learn. So, all right, for those of you who are sitting back going, okay, Gabe, yeah. Big deal. All right, I got it. We learned this at Harvard. Yeah, we learned this at Business for Dummies, right? What else you got? But they haven't taught you the third, final, and most important element to making goals, and that is the artificial conflict. Artificial conflict? What are you talking about? I'll tell you what I'm talking about. The artificial conflict or artificial challenge, as it's also I commonly call it, right, is what is the extra factor that you're putting into play to make it more difficult. Wait a minute. You want to make it more difficult? Oh, yeah. We want to make it more difficult. You see, if we give, this is something typical that most teachers will know, when you give an assignment to students, right, and it's a completely open assignment, do whatever you want, lost in the crowd, don't know what to do, right? Don't know where to begin, don't know where to end, don't know where to start, in the middle, what have you. However, if you just say, all right, the theme is butterflies, now you're off, there's kids collecting butterflies, there's kids making butterfly costumes, there's kids making airplanes out of butter that fly, right? Look at all the creativity that has now been expounded upon because you created that challenge. Just like in games, for instance, let's take the game of football, or for my North American counterparts, soccer. In this game, we see the first 2 parts of a goal. Number 1, the measurable outcome is how many times did the ball go into the goal? How many points were scored, right? The second part of the deadline, well, you got 2 halves, right? 90 minutes together. That's it. 90 minutes. Maybe you get some overtime, right? Set deadline. A game doesn't go on for days. Hey, even the games that do go on for days, like cricket, don't go on forever. There's a set amount of time, deadline. And the third artificial challenge in the game of football, soccer for my North American counterparts, is that you can't use your hands, right? So now the creativity of how to juggle on knees, how to do bicycle kicks over backwards, how to, bounce on the head, all these new creative solutions have come out because there was this artificial challenge of not being able to use your hands. If you can apply that same design theory to your goals, you can achieve some miraculous things. So, for instance, let's look at the goals that we have. Let's lose 20 pounds in 5 months. Let me actually zoom in here. Let's lose 20 pounds in 5 months, but the artificial challenge is without going on a diet, right? We want to earn $1,000 more a month, but not from doing any labor. We want to save $1,000 before the summer, measurable outcome, right? Deadline, and we want to donate 1,000 to charity. Basically, we got to make 2,000, right? We want to visit 3 national parks this year. Artificial challenge on a horseback, right? Why not? Okay, think of that thing that you could do that could really create that artificial challenge. Now, a tip for creating these artificial challenges is that if you find yourself being blocked, let's say, losing weight, oh, I got to go on a diet again, I hate going on a diet, use that as your artificial challenge. All right, lose the weight, but this time you're not going on a diet, right? You basically remove that frog, as they say, eat your frog, out of the equation. And now your brain is going to start thinking of other creative solutions to fix that problem or challenge. So that's an internal thing. When we look internal, what are those things that are blocking us from achieving that goal? Create that as an artificial challenge. So you go around it completely. Shut your brain off from even contemplating it. The other way to go about an artificial challenge is by creating some kind of outside conflict, right? That's an internal conflict. Now let's talk about an outside conflict. The outside conflict, like for instance, in challenge and soccer is also you got the other team you have to deal with. And they're trying to stop you. Now, one way to achieve the same thing is by making a bet with friends. Make a bet with your friends that you really do not want to lose the bet for, because it may be a humiliating bet. Don't do anything that'll kill you. Just do something that is fun and humiliating enough, something that is more awful than actually achieving that goal and what you have to go through. So, for instance, you can bet your friends like, I bet I will lose 20 pounds in 5 months, or I'll clean your house, or I'll bet I'll visit 3 national parks this year on horseback, or I'll shave off all my hair, right? These are just some examples of what you can do to create an outside conflict or an outside artificial challenge. Now, for those of you who are still not convinced, you're still not convinced of this, you're like, yeah, I'm not sure. That doesn't sound very, doesn't sound like a lot to me. Well, this is exactly how JFK started the space race. Yeah? I mean, it's called the space race. If that's not a name for a video game, I don't know. Okay? So let's just listen to how JFK started this whole thing.
Space is open to us now, and our eagerness to share its meaning is not governed by the efforts of others. We go into space because whatever mankind must undertake, free men must fully share. I therefore ask the Congress, above and beyond the increases I have earlier requested for space activities, to provide the funds which are needed to meet the following national goals. First, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish. We propose to accelerate the development of the appropriate lunar spacecraft. We propose to develop alternate liquid and solid fuel boosters, much larger than any now being developed, until certain which is superior. We propose additional funds for other engine development and for unmanned exploration, explorations which are particularly important for one purpose which this nation will never overlook: the survival of the man who first makes this daring flight. But in a very real sense, it will not be one man going to the moon. If we make this judgment affirmatively, it will be an entire nation. For all of us must work to put him there.
So let's just look at what JFK said here. Now, remember, the space race, sending a man to the moon, hello, Buggy, sending a man to the moon was an incredible challenge at the time. And whether or not it was actually achieved, depending on what conspiracy theory you may believe or not, the fact of the matter is that an enormous amount of the technology that was developed and that came out of this event is something that touches our lives every single day in all aspects of our life, from banking and economics to hearts, to healthcare, to, society and culture. I mean, everything from, Star Trek to, Star Wars to heart valves and, GPS coordination. This all came from this space race. Yeah. And this space race was a game that was played by two major nations, Russia and America. And let's just look again at how John F. Kennedy launched this whole thing. Number one, he says, I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal. Yeah, so he's going to state the goal. Number one, before this decade is out. There he gives the deadline. Before this decade is out. Now, this only gave him less than 9 years, because it was in 1961 when he said this. Yeah? Before this decade is out. There's your deadline. Before it hits 1970. Of landing a man on the moon and safely returning him to Earth. All right, now this is something we can measure. Yeah? We send him to the moon. They put down a mirror. We can shoot lasers back and forth at the moon, and then they fly back and land safely on the planet. Now we can measure this. Yeah? This is something we can measure. And finally, so here we have, number one, the deadline before the decade is out. And number two, we have a measurable outcome, right? And so now number three, we have the artificial conflict, which isn't the amount of budget and stuff that was taken for it. No. It was they have to beat the Soviets. Because at this time, the Soviets had already launched some major rockets and Sputnik, and America believed that if they lost this race, they could lose space completely to the Soviets. At least that's what JFK says here, recognizing the head start obtained by the Soviets with their large rocket engines, which gives them many months of lead time. Excuse me. And recognizing the likelihood that they will exploit this lead for some time to come is still more impressive successes. We nevertheless are required to make new efforts on our own. For while we cannot guarantee that we shall one day be first, we can guarantee that any failure to make this effort will make us last. So there we see the 3 steps in action, right? So that was a little example introduction of how you can use game theory to help design better goals. Now, you can use this in your personal life, in your business life, whatever goal that you want to achieve. Check out those 3 points. The first 2 are pretty easy. The third one may involve a little bit of self-discovery or thinking about it. Yeah? All right. So, wow. That's about all, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah? Yeah. So, Yeah, that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for me today. Make sure you subscribe and join our Facebook group and our Discord group, because we've got some early bird specials coming out, right? So grab that early bird special for the presentation technique course, and we got, of course, more courses coming up, so you'll want to make sure to subscribe and be on the notification for those early bird deals. Check out our courses at school.thegamebeyond.com. I've been Gabe Mac, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this little bonus session, and I'll hopefully see you next week.